Hello everybody, CW here. I got a new set of dies in today. 38 Super. I thought I had a set. I went looking everywhere. I couldn't find them. So I checked online and all I could find was Redding at like stupid money. Hundreds of dollars because they were higher grade Reddings. No RCBS to be found, no Lyman to be found, and Lees were everywhere, but I want to try and stay away from Lees. I've had problems, and Hornady's are been pretty good, so I grabbed a set of Hornady's. Let's see what we got here. See what we get in a box of Hornady dies these days. All right, looks like we got a second decapping pin. They give you an extra one and an Allen wrench to, two of them. 2 decapping pins and an Allen wrench and a manual, which we don't need. Let's see what these look like. I don't know what we got that for. This is a little chip just for moisture, and we got an extra stem, flat points. So let's check that one out first. And the screw fell out of the inside of the die. So let's see where that screw might go. All right, it goes for the sizer die. All right, let's take this all apart and take a look at it, because when you get brand new dies, you really should take them apart and clean them and make sure that everything is good, because there's going to be oils in there and there's going to be possibility of machining pieces and stuff, and you want to make sure that's all flushed out. And it looks like that screw fell out as well. And they don't give you an extra ring here anymore. There's a ring in here, and I'll show you, for this sliding seater. This is just a piece of wire, and it's got a hook on it like that goes in a hole, and then this snaps around to hold it around the body of the die. And what this does is that little angle on there, protrusion, goes into this hole right here, and that little bitty point there that comes through right there is all that holds that sliding piece from falling out. That's it. So this slides on the inside of that, and this goes on the inside of this, and then the cap on the top. So the difference between Hornady and Lee is this is all steel, and it's a little better made. Where Lee, this would have been aluminum alloy and poor threads. Now it doesn't feel like it's overly lubed up with oil. So this looks like it's in pretty good shape. And here we have a expander, 38 auto expander. And let's see if we might have a right Allen size right over here. Yeah. So we'll just tighten that up, but not enough to tighten it down into a position, just enough so it doesn't fall out. And that's just an expander, so nothing there. And here we have the sizer die, and they work on a collet, but they thread, Hornady threads theirs and then kind of knocks it off, so it's got a lot of tooth to it, where the Lee uses the same design, but it's smooth. And it just, well, we know how we feel about that. They're not too great, because that's where the Lee failed on me in that old video there on the 350 Legend dies. So these look really good. They're not heavily oiled, so they're in really good shape. They look really good. I don't see any burrs or any machining marks, so I'm a little impressed. They look good. And this is a nitride or something coating, titanium nitride coating, which has been problematic. It wears off, so you want to make sure that you've got good clean brass, because if you're picking up range brass and not getting it good and clean, that can be a problem, and it can really be rough on your dies. So when we get this in the press, we will set this and then squish this down. This is a collet, and there's a taper in the back there, so it really bites and squishes on this rod so that it doesn't move. So that looks really good. That looks really good. So we'll get this cleaned up and get them put in the press and see what we can do. I'm anxious to size a case and see just how it is compared to the undersized die that I've got. I've got a Colt barrel 38 Super, and it's got a really tight chamber. The Colts can have really tight chambers, and they can be problematic for sizing with just standard die set. So I picked up that undersized die, which should eliminate any kind of problems with this not sizing enough. But I don't know, it may size fine. I don't know the dimensions on this one. But oh yeah, and I told you we got an extra stem here, and this goes in the cedar die. This one here was a tapered cup shaped stem, and this one here's a flat point. And for what I'm doing, I probably should have put the flat point in. Matter of fact, let's do that right now, because that's going to be more useful to me with the bullets, the cast bullets that I'll be using. So we'll just put this over here, and we'll put the flat point in, and then put the topper back on. And they use a rubber washer instead of a lock screw, and for what it is, that's fine. That's all you need. Now, that's got a hole in it. I'm not really sure why. It's probably because they use it for other parts and other dies, but that's good. That's going to be nice. Let's back that off, because that's going to be way too short. There we go, flat point. Let's see, I think I got a dummy over here. Yeah. Here's my two preferred bullets. This one here is 130 grain Lyman 637, I think. 357 637. And this one here is a Seiko 383. And you can see they both got flat points on them. So let's see what this looks like. Going up inside there. Oh, it's got a crimp. It's got a crimp built into it. So that's all that goes in. That's all that goes in. So you set that for your seating depth. All right, let me clean these up, and we'll come back and we'll see if we can put them in the Lee press. Stand by. All right, we're going to put these in the little Lee press here, and what we've got is I've got one of the dummy rounds. Let's use the one that we had over here, because this is what we're going to load anyway. This is the 383 Seiko bullet, and the die is not put in there yet, so let's run that up in there all the way. Let's get our Allen wrench. And let's turn this down, turn it in until it stops, okay? Now that, if we go farther, we're going to make it crimp. So we're going to crimp with a standalone Lee taper crimp over here, or I think it's a Lee taper crimp over here. So we're not going to crimp with this die. This is just going to be our cedar die. So we're going to turn this until it stops. Then we're just going to back it off a little bit, and then we're going to turn this ring down. Oh, look at there. It's not going to work. Well, maybe. Maybe it's going to work. All right, it looks like we just got it. But the head of that screw sticks farther out than the rest of it, and it doesn't scrub by. So let's just back this off a little bit. Put our Allen wrench in here and tighten this down to jam it on the threads. Oh, not enough yet. I think that's enough. Yep, that's enough. So that'll jam it on the threads. And then we'll just go in here with our wrench and just tighten it down so it doesn't move. All right, let's run this back up in here. And now we're going to set our seating depth on the bullet. We got a dummy in there, so the dummy is the length we want it to be. Turn it down until it stops and just give it a little bit extra. And then tighten this down so that that doesn't move. All right, there's our seating die. And it is all set. The next one is going to be our flaring die to flare the cases. Now, this one here is probably going to have the same problem spinning, so let's take this Allen wrench back, Allen screw back out so that it'll work. Let's get our dummy out of there. Let's grab a 38 super case, and we're going to run it all the way to the top. This is non-adjustable for your stem in there. It's only adjustable for up and down length, because that's all you really need. So let's run this in to the press until we make contact. Okay, there's contact. Okay, now this is going to go over that stem up a little bit, and then it's going to reach a shoulder, and then it's going to flare. So you're going to need to turn this down more than what's here. All right, we're down pretty hard right now. Let's make sure nothing has happened. And nothing has happened. So let's just go just a little bit more. And yeah, this is not going to work. All right, it's not going to work because the nuts are too large. We're going to have to get some smaller die nuts. So let's swap this out for a Dillon die nut. The Dillon nuts are very, very small, and they usually are not a problem. So let me put you on hold. I'll get that. Stand by. Here's a Dillon die nut. They're pretty small diameter, and they work really good for the tight confines of a Dillon head. So we've got even less room here on the Lee. So we're going to be good with that. Okay, let's run the case all the way up again. We're going to screw this down until it stops on top of the case. And then we're going to turn it in even farther because we're going inside the case. And we want to be sure that everything is the right length to make the proper flare on our case. Now let's get a bullet. Let me get a bullet. I gotta put you on pause again. All right, here's a jug of Seiko 383s that I cast, and this is a salted peanuts jar. They work good for large quantities. All right, so we're just going to try it here. And we actually got some flare started. Not enough, but it is in there. I want to do a little bit more. So let's turn this a little bit more. All right, I got it. It jammed itself in. So let's hold the nut, back the nut off. We're going to turn this in just a little bit more and then turn the nut down. Put it back in position, put our shell casing back in there and run it up in and see what we get. All right, it's got to go more. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'm just doing this because I can get a better handle on it. Give it about a quarter of a turn or so. Screw it down, back into position. Size your case. Now you can see, I think you can see with the light there, you can see I'm down into the case about 1/8 of an inch. May not be enough. It's not enough. But that's opening it up to the diameter we want. So we're probably going to have to go quite a bit. So let's give this a complete turn. The worst we'll do is waste a case. And it won't really be wasted. We can save it. It's just going to work the case more than we really want to. All right. Now we're a good 1/8 of an inch down, and we're still the same. The bullet does go in, and that might be okay for a jacketed bullet. Let me grab a Hap jacketed bullet here and show you, because the jacketed bullet is a little bit smaller diameter than that cast bullet. So here's a Hap 147, and I shoot these in the Super 2. All right, these are the same. They really are the same. We need more sizing. So let's do the same thing again. Let's go another full turn. Back it off over here. Just crack it loose and go a full turn and tighten it down. That wasn't quite a full turn, but I think it's still going to be not enough. Yep, still not enough. You can feel when it gets to that second step. Half, almost a full turn. And if you go slow, you might, all right, I think that's it right there. I think that's it right there. So that's going to be too far. So let's back this off just a little bit. Yeah, I think I'm still too far. But let's see. No, it doesn't look so bad. No, that's going to be really good. That's going to be really good. Let me make sure you're in the frame. That goes in there really nice. So that's a jacketed bullet. It's smaller. So let's switch over to our cast. Still just fine. You want to adjust this so you're not overworking your brass. So that's probably a whisker too much. So let's just back that off just a whisker. Loosen it so we can turn it. Back it off just a little bit. Turn this down. Get our wrench. We're not horsing this down. We're just going to lock it down so that we don't have any problems. Okay, let's get another shell casing that's been sized. Let's make sure and size it. All right, it's sized. Now we're going to flare it. Let's see what we get here. Doesn't feel like much, but it's really nice for the jacketed. Let's see if it's enough for the cast. Yeah, it's going to be fine. And that's better. I like it better. Here's the new one. Here's the old one. Let's see if we can see. Hope that's in focus for you. Just a little bit more flare here. Neither one of them is really wrong. They're both fine. This one's better because it doesn't work the case as much, and it does what we need it to do, which is lets the bullet get started so we don't shave any lead. One other thing that I'll add that I do, let's set these aside. Let's get another brand new case. And you'll see that it's right here next to my press, and it's always right next to my press, the spaceship. And what I'll do before I flare this, I'll just run this around really quick and throw it out on the bench. I meant to do that. Just run it around here really quick. Just take the edge off that, the inside of that. That will stop it from scratching your powder coated bullets all by itself. Just that. See, that combined with a proper flare will allow your bullets to seat without stripping off the powder coat, and allow them to start nice and square and true. All right, so let's make up a dummy. Let's make up a dummy. We'll switch over to here. Now, we've previously set this die up, so let's just run it up in there just the way it is and see what we get. All right, we are pretty good. That looks pretty good. I got a spare barrel over here as my plunk tester, and let's see. That's really good. We're not grabbing on nothing. It spins. It's just below flush, maybe not even what a primer would be. So that's pretty good. And that's no crimp. That's doing that without a crimp on it. So let's run this over here. Turn this over to the crimp. Taper crimp. Just give it a taper crimp. Just to eliminate that. And now it doesn't really go any deeper. Maybe a half a thousandths deeper. Maybe. But it goes right in. Beautiful. Nice. Okay. There we go. I didn't have to adjust it. More often than not, when you set your dies up like this, your cedar die, you're going to have to go back and turn it in just a little bit more. But what I did, if you remember, I turned it down till it touched, and I gave it just a little bit more. And it worked out to be perfect. So that's going to be perfect for a seating depth and for a crimp. And that's pretty much the most of it. I didn't show you the sizer die, because that's as simple as put it in a position, put your press all the way up, screw it down till it touches. This is a full length sizing die on a straight walled case. This is a straight walled case, not a tapered case like a 9mm. That's it. You size it all the way to the bottom, so you go so it kisses your shell holder, and lock it down. You're set up. This is the undersized Lee die. This is not the RCBS. This is not the die from Hornady. So let's pull out this crimp die, because this is going to hold position no problem. So let's pull this out of here. It's got the Lee O-ring under it, so it'll hold position for us if we're careful and don't bump it. So it's got the O-ring under there, and it's locked into the threads. So just carefully set that aside, and it'll hold that for us. So let's set this die up, and let's compare some sized cases from both of these. All right, right off the bat, I want to set this deeper. So I'm just going to turn that in a little bit. Maybe not that far, about that far. And I got about 3/16 of an inch of, where am I? Are you? Yeah, I'm in there. 3/16 of an inch of decapping pin exposed. We'll go over here and we'll get another wrench. We'll get this first die in this set, and we'll get this nut here in the second, and we'll just clamp that down. These generally do not need to be horsed down like the Lees do. That extra threading in there, those machining, really make it bite. So that should be just fine. Let's put this little one away, because we're probably not going to need it. We'll leave the big one out because we will. Run this all the way up. And now let's take this. Let's hope we can use this nut. Let's take the screw out, because the screw was grabbing on us. Take the screw out. And it all depends on the position of this nut, is if it's going to work. And it's not going to work. Not going to work. So let's get another Dillon nut and put it on this one. You know, I probably don't need to for this test, but that's all right. Let's just do it. Set this aside. Let me get a Dillon nut. Stand by. All right, we got another Dillon nut on there. Thread this in until it touches the shell holder. All right, there it is. You don't need to go harsh, just till it stops. Tighten this nut down. Again, just to hold it in place. We're not going crazy. All right, so let's get another case. Pardon my reach. Another case. This is an unsized case. These are all cleaned. Wow. That seems to have really sized that. Yeah, that die is going to be fine. I don't need the undersized. I don't need the undersized Lee die. That's going to work fine. This is a Colt barrel. That's nice. So let's set these aside. Let me get another one. And let's size that in the Lee die. Okay, that was from the Lee die. It's definitely smaller. Definitely smaller. You can see the wiggle. Take that out. That's the Lee. This is the Redding. Just a bit less. So I actually like that better because, again, we're not overworking the brass. And you can see how dry that was. How dry that was with my having cleaned that out with brake cleaner. All right, let's set that aside. Let's see. That's not going to size that because it's smaller. I'll do it with the Hornady die. That nitride coating is not as smooth. It doesn't size as smooth as the Lee die. The Lee die sizes smoother than that Hornady with the nitride coating. Yeah, isn't that something? Lee is smoother than that nitride coating. So I think it's going to be a wash. I think either one is going to work just fine. Let's see if I put just a bit of lube on this now. It's not a problem to lube for carbide dies. Just be aware that if the lube builds up, it's going to grab any kind of debris. So you need to be conscious of that and keep your dies clean if you're using like range pickup. All right, we're going to go back to the Hornady. Yeah, it was definitely smoother with the lube, and that's to be expected, but it doesn't look any different. You could see that edge around there, and you can see how it's scuffed from the die, and you don't get that with the Lee die, which this is really surprising to me because, like I said a bunch of times, I'm not really a Lee fan, but there's none of those marks. None of those marks on the case from the Lee die, but they are there from the Hornady die. So I don't know. There we go. The jury's still out. I'll have to think on it and see what I want to do. But there's our die set up. We can now load 38 Super right here. I may change this out to one of the Lee powder through dies, so I can use my setup here and charge my cases. But I'm gonna have to pick one up because I don't have an extra one. So that's that. All right, everybody. Probably made this video longer than it needs to be. But this is a brand new set of dies. This is what I go through when I set up a brand new set of dies. And the most important part is to clean them when you start, because there can be all kinds of oils and debris and machining dust and grit in there, and you don't want that to be imparted on your cases. So God bless everybody. CW.